Most people think fascist regimes controlled their nations through fear, violence, or propaganda. But what if the real secret weapon wasn't the police, the speeches, or the rallies? What if the true instrument of obedience was something far more ordinary, something people interacted with every single day? In this video, we uncover how fascist governments transformed employment into a powerful mechanism of control, reshaping labor from an economic activity into a political tool. And the mystery is not just how it happened, but why millions accepted it, setting the stage, the world before the fascist labor systems. To understand this transformation, we need to step back to the 1920s and 1930s. Europe was wounded. Economies were collapsing. Millions were unemployed. In Italy, Germany, and other nations that would later become fascist, people were desperate for stability, and desperate people make vulnerable workers. Key figures like Benito Mussolini and Adolf Hitler understood something profound. If you control a person's job, you control their survival. And if you control their survival, you control their loyalty. So they built systems that fused labor, nationalism, and obedience into a single structure. But this structure didn't appear overnight. It evolved slowly, strategically, and with surprising public support. Origins: how the workplace became political. It began with a promise. We will restore dignity through work. Fascist governments outlawed independent labor unions, labeling them divisive or unpatriotic. In their place, they built state-run labor fronts. Italy created the corporate state, organizing workers by profession under state supervision. Germany established the German Labor Front (DAF), the largest labor organization in history, replacing every union with a single government-controlled entity. At first, workers believed these changes meant stability. But the new systems were not about rights, they were about hierarchy, loyalty, and political obedience. Rise. When work turned into control, as fascism rose, work transformed from an economic activity into a political obligation. Your job wasn't just what you did. It became who you were in the state's eyes. Employers were pressured to hire the politically reliable. Promotions required ideological loyalty. Dissent meant unemployment, and unemployment meant danger. People complied not because they agreed, but because they were afraid of losing their livelihoods. The regimes also created massive public works programs, not only to boost the economy but to engineer public gratitude. Jobs became symbols of national pride, tools to bind citizens emotionally to the regime. Breaking point: when obedience became expectation. The turning point came when work obligations extended beyond the workplace. Workers were encouraged or required to attend political events, engage in state-sponsored leisure programs, or participate in ideological training. Employment became inseparable from loyalty. If you wanted a stable future, you had to accept the system. This was not accidental, it was strategic. Fallout: what happened when control went too far? As war approached, these labor systems tightened. Forced labor expanded, mobility was restricted, and personal freedoms disappeared entirely. The workplace became a surveillance network, with foremen and officials acting as state informants. The promise of dignity through work ultimately led millions into exploitation and coercion. The economy survived temporarily, but society paid the price. Failed fixes: why the system collapsed. Fascist labor systems failed because they were built on coercion, not productivity. Creativity died, dissent was crushed, and the economic model became unsustainable. Once war removed fear and exposed corruption, the systems collapsed almost overnight. Modern parallels: history's quiet warning. Today, new forms of workplace surveillance, economic pressure, and political polarization echo patterns from the past. Studies show that over 60% of workers worldwide fear losing their jobs due to political or economic instability. When fear enters the workplace, control follows, no matter the era or ideology. 3 takeaways: control over labor is control over society. Workplace freedom is a foundation of political freedom. Economic desperation can make people accept systems they would otherwise resist. Closing warning: history shows that control rarely begins with force. It begins with a promise, security, dignity, stability, and ends with obedience. Call to action: if you want more deep investigations into history, power, and the systems that shape society, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Your engagement helps uncover the stories most people never hear.